Mind of the PF as a party on various national issues. How well is the party responding to people's needs and concerns? Has the party performed to expectation? My guest, Deputy Media Director, Antonio Mwanza. Sir, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zulu, and good evening to the viewers.
I want us to start on a party note, intra-party note. You've been having party elections, starting with the grassroots. But what has been coming out of these is not very encouraging. We've had near punch-ups in Kitwe, near punch-up at Vip's house where a minister was almost clobbered. What is causing this?
I think, first of all, the Patriotic Front as a ruling party must be commended for setting up the record very straight in terms of democracy. From inception, the ruling Patriotic Front has always exercised intra-party elections. And we have demonstrated as a political party that we do believe in intra-party democracy, and that is what exactly we've been doing. And His Excellency President Edgar Lungu did assent to a new constitution that provides for strengthened intra-party democracy. If you look at Article 60 of the Republican Constitution, every political party is required to hold regular elections. And so far, if you look at the political spectrum, there is only one political party that is exercising intra-party democracy, and that is the Patriotic Front. All the other political parties have never been to the conventions for the last 10 years or so. And like Barack Obama said, elections and democracy can be noisy and it can be competitive, and every now and then people might stray, emotions might go up. But what is comforting is that we have these elections from the grassroots, starting from the branch, the section, going up to the provincial levels. And our core is that these elections will culminate into a general conference which will be held in 2020 to select or to elect a new central committee of the party. So we have clear guidelines as a political party that governs these elections.
New central
the elections
committee,
have been
new
free
president.
and fair. Yes, of course, we are going to have elections at all levels, starting from the presidency up to the chairpersons of the committees. But also it is important to note here that the Central Committee currently has endorsed the candidate of His Excellency President Edgar Chagwa Lungu to be their preferred candidate at the General Conference. Other participants are welcome to participate, but the position of the Central Committee and the position of the provinces and the provision of the entire structure of the Patriotic Front, starting from the branch, has been very clear that His Excellency President Edgar Chagwa Lungu must continue as our president for the party and as our candidate for the 2021
Isn't that too
elections.
early to do an endorsement? 2 years, 3 years before?
It is not early. If you look
Aimed
at time,
intimidating others that want to participate?
no, you see,
Because clearly, the way you're saying it, it means if anybody's going to come up and say, I want to have a go at the presidency, it means they're going against the structures of the party, going against the Central Committee, going against all the other structures that you're stating as having endorsed the president. Is that democratic?
the beauty of democracy is that everybody has the right to endorse or support any candidate of their choice. If, for instance, you take the elections in the United States of America, you realize that they're what they call super delegates. And these, they endorse whoever they want to endorse. And this is the free will of the structures, starting from the branches, starting from the sections, the branches, the wards, the constituencies, the districts and the provinces, including the Central Committee. They have the confidence and trust in the leadership of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, and they have endorsed him because we all believe in the leadership of His Excellency the President. But that does not stop anybody from contesting. Everyone is free to contest any position of their choice, but you cannot stop people from making their free will. And the free will of the people, the free will of the structures of the Patriotic Front is that President Edgar Chagwa Lungu must continue and must be our candidate for the 2021 general elections.
I did refer to some issues that are happening at the grassroots level. I know I mentioned Kitwe. I mentioned an incident at the Vice President's office, which was house, which was also reported in some media. Now, there was also violence in Chawama, I know, and there are reports of manipulation in Ndola, Mazabuka, where people are saying the registers have been manipulated. Chingola also has those reports. Doesn't this paint a picture of a DNA, a party which has its DNA predominantly as violent and corrupt?
Totally contrary to that assertion. The truth of the matter is that we have got very elaborate electoral laws. There are guidelines that guide the conduct and administration of these elections. And the chairperson for elections, Honorable Yamfa Mukanga, and his committee have been going around to all the districts and all the provinces to spell out these guidelines. And all the leaders at all levels have copies of the guidelines that guides the administration and management of these elections. And when it comes to party registers, we only have one form that all the party structures are supposed to use. We don't use a photocopy. We use an original certified copy of the register of delegates.
So these reports of manipulation are not true?
No, these reports of manipulation are not correct.
They're coming from your members?
No, there is a verification process that goes on. For everyone to participate, either as a voter or as a contestant, you must go through a very elaborate verification process. And the committee which is in charge of elections, the Electoral Commission of the Patriotic Front, the Electoral Committee, has been going around to all the districts, all the provinces, to spell out these electoral rules and electoral guidelines. And in terms of the registers, before an election is conducted, all the registers must be verified. So everybody who is participating in these elections takes part in the verification process. So these elections have been free, fair, but extremely competitive. Why competitive? It's because the Patriotic Front is an extremely attractive political party. So we've got a lot of people that are jostling to get these positions. And
are people fighting to get these positions because it's beneficial to be at the top?
No, I think people are fighting to get these positions because they have the confidence, they have the trust, and they have the willingness to serve the people. They have the confidence in the party, they have the confidence in our manifesto, they have the confidence in the track record of the party, and they want to make themselves available to continue to serve the people.
But if they're physically fighting and they're not fighting with ideas, isn't this what spills over to a national level?
But if you look at the
you're not managing it.
If you look at the thousands of the elections that are going on, and I'm talking about thousands of branches that have been formed. If you look at thousands of sections that have been formed, 1,780 wards that are there, and if you look at the 10 provinces and over 100 districts, of course, you expect that here and there you might have an incident, but the beauty of it is that everywhere where there's been an incident, the Secretary General, Honorable Davis Mwila, and the Secretariat and his team, they have moved in quickly to make sure that those skirmishes are dealt with and those that are wrong are disciplined. And in the small isolated cases that we have had, there has always been a method to ensure that sanity is restored and that we have these elections in a free and fair manner.
So we should anticipate a very bitter battle at provincial level, considering that at lower level, it's getting physical and nasty.
I don't want to say it is getting physical and nasty because to pick an isolated incident out of thousands of election processes that are going on would be unfair to say it's becoming physical, because that might be totally an isolated incident that has been dealt with. By the way, elections all over the world.
We saw it in Kitwe, we saw it in Lusaka, and we saw it in Chawama.
Yes, but
now if even a minister is almost beaten.
But that is just 3 incidents that you have pointed out from 1,000 of election processes that are going on.
Maybe we call them hundreds? It's over
No, it's just those 3. So in a nutshell, we would say that the election processes are going on very smoothly. And people are free to campaign, people are free to vote for candidates of their choice. And that the process itself is rigging proof because the list of delegates are first of all verified by everybody who is participating in the election. And nobody goes into the election hall if it does not qualify to be on the list of the delegates. And so far, we have done very well. And we must be commended as a political party that we have demonstrated that we believe in intra-party democracy, that we believe in democracy, and that we don't just preach democracy. As Patriotic Front, we have proved that we actually practice democracy. And we want to challenge other political parties to also to learn from the Patriotic Front and also follow the example that we have set.
To pick the good examples and leave the
good examples that we have set.
Leave the manipulation and the violence.
There's no manipulation of any election. And the process is free and fair, and the process is very transparent. Everybody is accountable to the process. The election guidelines, the electoral rules that governs the management and administration of the political party elections are very available, and every candidate, every member, everyone who is interested can pick up a copy and be able to read for themselves what the rules are.
Let's move on. MMD PF alliance. This seems to have collapsed the moment Felix Mtati was dismissed from cabinet. Is that the position now?
First of all, I'd like to make it very clear that decisions of which party the Patriotic Front will decide to work with is purely a preserve of the members of the Central Committee through the consultations of the general membership. So the members of the Central Committee, as a governing organ of the party, will do consultations with all the structures of the party to feel what the structures want. And once the Central Committee is convinced that we need to take a certain direction, the Central Committee does just that. So at the moment...
Is the alliance still standing?
At the moment, we have a working alliance with the MMD, and we have a very good working alliance with the MMD, but that doesn't stop the President of the Republic of Zambia to exercise his constitutional mandate to make reshuffles. By the way, Mr. Mutati Felix is not the first person that has been reshuffled. He's not the first person that has been
He's not been reshuffled, he's been fired.
Yes, it's the same thing. It's not the first person that has been reshuffled.
Reshuffle would probably mean changing, changing the cards and firing is you're out.
When you're reshuffling, you are either transferring people from one ministry to the other, or also firing people and taking them completely out of your cabinet.
He stands out differently from the others. The others are party members, but he came from the MMD and he was a symbol of the alliance. So what is the benefit of MMD in this alliance if you do not have, if they don't partake in the national cake?
First of all, I want to make it very clear again that His Excellency the President has the constitutional mandate to make appointments and also to make disappointments. And the President uses his wisdom, his discretion to make these decisions. And the case of Mr. Felix Mutati is no exception. It is the President exercising his constitutional rights to fire or hire a cabinet minister. Whether Mr. Mutati is coming from MMD or is coming from PF is not the issue here. The issue is that the President, through his wisdom, has exercised his discretional constitutional right.
Do you think the MMD is benefiting enough from this alliance?
The alliance of the MMD and the PF is not about benefiting individuals. It is about benefiting the country. So it doesn't matter who from the MMD is part and parcel of the Patriotic Front government. What matters is that whoever is part and parcel of the Patriotic Front government is working closely with the President and his entire cabinet to push the agenda of developing this country. So it is not an alliance of benefits. It is not an alliance of Turiemo. It's an alliance which is based on the fact that we want to work together to push the agenda of national development, whether it is MMD and Patriotic Front or whether it's Patriotic Front and any other player. Our goal is to make sure that the manifesto that we have put for the people of Zambia to develop this country, that manifesto must be achieved.
You want to use your colleagues to push you into power, secure votes for you, and then tell them you worked for the people while you occupy other positions. Is that fair? Is that a fair assessment?
There are so many people who were MMD, who today are cabinet ministers in the Patriotic Front.
Who are no longer MMD. They stood
yes,
on the
they have made a decision. They have made a decision to move on. And like what I said, the most important thing here is to look at the fact that our alliance with MMD, an alliance with any other political party in future, is based on mutual understanding, mutual respect, and mutual agreement that we are going to work together for the development of the people of Zambia.
Are you now toying with the idea that the MMD is no longer relevant?
It's not.
I know they pushed the Eastern Province for the PF.
No.
And probably now you've penetrated. You don't need them.
No.
They don't have the bargaining power anymore.
The MMD as a political party stand as a political party. The MMD is an independent political party. The alliance that we have made is not a major. So the MMD still stands as an independent political party, and they have continued to organize themselves. The Patriotic Front stands as an independent political party, and we have continued to organize ourselves. The most important thing here is that we are not in this alliance to share positions. We are in this alliance to deliver the promises to the people of Zambia. So who gets a position is not an issue. The most important thing is that anybody who is given a chance to serve must have the necessary prerequisite and the necessary requisites to deliver to the expectations of the people. So it's not about MMD and PF sharing positions. It's about MMD and PF working together to ensure that we develop this country that we love so much.
You seem to be stating that there are no benefits in holding political power.
No, political power, just like any other vacation, does come with its own benefit, just like a teacher has his own benefit for what he works. In fact, what he works for. In fact, every work pays. Every hard work pays. So it doesn't matter whether you're a garden boy, it doesn't matter whether you're a taxi driver, it doesn't matter whether you're a maid. Everybody who is working hard will receive a reward. This is biblical. This is the way nature operates. And there is nothing wrong with people being rewarded for the work that they do. Even in heaven, people will be rewarded for the work that they're doing on this earth.
How have you rewarded the MMD in this case?
It was not an issue of rewards. For the MMD, the MOU that we have is an issue where we came together and we signed an MOU, and this MOU is based on mutual respect, mutual understanding, and mutual sacrifice and commitment to delivering the development for the people of Zambia. So this alliance is not about Puna. This alliance is about service to the people of Zambia. So it doesn't matter who is in office or who is outside office. What matters is that all of us must work together to push the development agenda for this country. That is why we are in this alliance.
Let's move on. Let's turn to recent incidents on the Copper Belt where we experienced riots over rumors that Zafico had been sold. Now, you were on the Copper Belt as well during that time. What did you see? What do you think caused the riot?
First of all, I must state here that as a party we are very concerned with the level of political desperation, where people would like to use politics of hate, of lies, and propaganda and malice to achieve their political goal to go to State House. I was on the Copper Belt, and we have a recording which everybody has heard, where the president for the UPND, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, called on Sun FM live and started lying to the people of Zambia that Zafico has been sold. And he said Zafico has been sold to the Chinese. Now, there are thousands of people that are benefiting from Zafico. We've got employees, we've got suppliers, we've got the sawmillers, and we've got a lot of people that are benefiting from Zafico. So that lie from President Hakainde Hichilema infuriated the people, and the people took to the streets. Now, it is important to state here that, first of all, this has been a careful strategy by the opposition UPND to spread lies and falsehoods, to raise anger and discontent and disillusionment in the people against the ruling Patriotic Front. They lied that ZNBC has been sold, and they have continued to lie
and
that ZNBC has been sold. They lied that NRDC has been sold. They have continued to lie that NRDC has been sold.
And therein comes the question.
They lied that Chimbokaila has been sold.
You are saying they lied that Chimbokaila had been sold. They lied that ZNBC had been sold. They lied that NRDC had been sold. There were no riots.
Yes.
Now you're saying there's this story about Zafico and there was a riot.
Yes, because
does it occur to you that probably people could be protesting against something bigger than Zafico? Probably against poverty, probably against the cost of living?
To the contrary, here are the facts.
Are they already angry?
No.
And this is just a recipe to go on the street?
No. The Zambian people are very peaceful people to begin with. And the Zambian people are never afraid to stand up and demonstrate.
And
when they're not happy.
You think and you're convinced one phone call into a small radio station in Ndola forces people in Kitwe to go on the streets? People that are very peaceful.
Let me give you this
people
scenario.
That are independent. People that can speak their mind.
Let me give this scenario. In Rwanda, there was a genocide where over 800,000 people were murdered, slaughtered. And what sparked the genocide? It was a very small radio station, a community radio station, that was spreading hate, propaganda, and lies. It didn't take a national radio station, a very small community radio station. The Bible in Ecclesiastes is very clear. The Bible in Proverbs is very clear that a tongue is a very small organ on the part of the body, but it can be extremely destructive. You must remember that Mr. Hichilema has a following as a leader of the largest opposition political party in the country. And that what he says has a bearing because he's got a following. I was a leader at the University of Zambia, and I had a huge following. And whatever I said had an impact. And my single statement would lead the students to go to the roadside and riot. So Mr. Hichilema must be held accountable for his lies. And he must be told in no uncertain terms that he should not use politics of hate, politics of lies, to advance his political fortune.
Let's agree.
The truth of the matter on Zafico,
you are giving him too
settled.
much credit as an opposition leader. You're giving him too much credit.
No.
He's got that much authority to make one phone call and set a city ablaze.
We are not giving him credit.
Is he that powerful?
We are not giving him credit. We are not giving him credit. But what we are saying is that there has been a consistent ploy by the UPND to use lies. And you know, just like Hitler said, tell one lie over and over and over again, and people start believing it. And this is a systematic ploy by the UPND to use lies to raise anger in the people and to raise xenophobic sentiments into the people against the ruling Patriotic Front.
Are you doing...
So we are not giving him any credit. We are calling him for the lies that he's saying. But the most important thing is again to remind the people of Zambia that Zafiko has not been sold. The Minister of Finance, when she was presenting the national budget, was very clear. She said we've got 33 parastatals, 33 companies that are registered as parastatals for this country. And some of these parastatals are not doing very well. And in her budget speech, she was very categorical that for all those parastatals that are not doing well, one of the issues that government will put on the table and consider will be the issue of listing shares on the Lusaka Stock Exchange. And why do we want to list shares? Because one, when you list shares, you open up competition, you open up prudent management, and you also increase the capital injection. Because people that will buy shares will increase the capital liquidity in the company and will make those companies afloat. The government, for instance, has said that they're looking for an equity partner for Inden to make it viable, to make it sustainable. It is not the first time in the history of this country that we have share-listed companies. We had Zanaco. It was 100% owned by government. It is no longer owned by government, but it is thriving. We had a lot of companies under Indeco. We had Zamefa, for instance. We had Chilanga Cement, which is now Lafarge. We had Zambian breweries. All these companies have been share-listed, and they are viable, they are productive, they are sustainable, and they have employed thousands of people. So the issue of Zafiko is not an isolated case. We have said as a government that we'll make sure that all companies that are not doing well are share-listed. It is one way of increasing capital injection. It is one way of making them viable. It is one way of making them productive. And the issue of Zafiko is under scrutiny by Parliament because that is in the budget speech. So Parliament must sit and approve the budget. And when they approve the budget, any of the changes which government wants to do will then be given guarantee by Parliament. And to make it very clear, the minister was very clear in her speech. She said any share listing will go to the Zambian people. Are the Chinese Zambian people? They are not Zambian people. So the government is not share listing these companies to foreigners. We are share listing these companies to the Zambian people to give them ulubali, to give them power, to give them opportunities
to take part in the business. Now,
in the business, run the businesses, make money for themselves, and allow their families to
thrive. Are you
thrive.
failing to communicate?
What do you mean?
As a ruling party. I mean, you were on the cover belt this very time these things happened, and people decided to listen to rumor and not to listen to you.
This is what I was saying.
This is very good information you're bringing out, but where is it? Do the people listen to that? Do they know what you're talking about?
This is why I'm saying that it is easy for people to believe a lie when it is repeated over and over. The government has been very clear. When government, for instance,
have you been defeated by the lies?
Far
the so-called lies.
Lies.
You were on the cover belt, visited a lot of community radio stations, spoke about a lot of issues. People chose not to listen to you.
No, the people
have they lost confidence in you?
No, the people have listened. And this is the reason why, for instance...
They've listened and went to the streets.
No, they went to the street before government put its position very clear. The government has put its position very clear through, for instance, the ministerial budget speech, through, for instance, the press releases that have been made by the Minister of Information, Honorable Dora Siria, by Minister Chiteme, by Minister Makebi Zulu, by Minister Bowman Lusambo, also by the Deputy Media Director, myself, the Secretary General of the party, Mr. Honorable Davis Mwila, and everybody in the government and in the party. We have been very consistent and been very clear on the issues that affect the people of Zambia.
Let's agree
but we also know
that on this Safiko issue, you underestimated the reaction from the people. Otherwise, you'd have explained it more before the unfortunate incident on the Copper Belt.
No, an explanation was done. And a lot of explanations have continued to go on. And ministers have gone to an extent of challenging Mr. Ichilema.
Well, that was after the fact.
Actually,
that was after the incident.
The truth of the matter is that when the presentation of the national budget was done, it was done for the nation, and the whole nation was watching. And when Honorable Manakatwe continuously and Honorable Dola Siria continuously explained the vision of the government to make sure that we don't allow the parastatals to die, the same way that Zambia Airways died, the same way that UBZ died, and the same way that many of the companies which were under Zimco and which were under Indeco died, we have been communicating to the people of Zambia. And these are actually, even in the manifesto of the Patriotic Front, the manifesto of the Patriotic Front is very clear on these issues, that government will encourage the private sector to come in. And this is the reason why this government of the Patriotic Front has given 20% of all contracts to go to the Zambian nationals. It is the first time that we have put a law to say 20% of all contracts must go to the Zambian nationals.
It's a law that is never respected.
It's a law that is being respected. This is the reason why
we are not seeing that impact on the people,
this is
on
the
the
impact.
community, on the contractors. It's not being seen.
This is the impact. 4 months ago, the Minister of Finance released 2 billion kwacha to the small-scale Zambian-owned companies that have done construction work with the government. And if you go, for instance, on the Copper Belt, you find a project that is done by Nkana Water and Sewerage Company. It's a $200 million project to revamp the water sector on the Copper Belt. And the suppliers to this are local contractors. If you go to all these roads that we are building, the Link Zambia 8000, the L400, the phase 1 on the Copper Belt, which is covering 53 kilometers, and the phase 2, which will cover 100 kilometers. All these infrastructures, including the building of the hospitals, the building of the 600 health posts that we have built in the last 7 years, the 39 district hospitals we have built in the last 7 years, the universities that we have been upgrading, including Kuruma, which is now a fully-fledged university, including Chalimbana, which is a fully-fledged university, the university teaching hospitals, such as Levi Mwanawasa General Hospital, which is now a university teaching hospital, the Kitwe General Hospital, which is now a university teaching hospital, the Ndola General Hospital, Livingstone General Hospital, which have all been upgraded to university teaching hospitals. You will find that the Zambian contractors and Zambian businesses are partnering up with the multinationals to
that sounds more like rhetoric,
supplies.
because the relationship between the projects you've mentioned, the amounts of money, and the impact on the local economy, the local people, is almost zero. It's, it's negative. It's negative.
Mr. Zulu.
Let's agree. If this money, if 30% of all these contracts, the amount of money that you're mentioning stayed in Zambia, the economy would be far much better.
Mr. Zulu, here are the facts. We are talking about 7 years of the Patriotic Front. In 7 years, the Patriotic Front has invested heavily in education, starting with revision of the curriculum, to make it more practical, to make it less theoretical, and to make sure that we invest in science, maths, and technology. As we are speaking now, ITC is compulsory from primary to secondary. As we are speaking right now, the curriculum has been revised. And the Patriotic Front in the last 7 years has invested in youth development. We have built 21 resource centers, youth resource centers. In the national budget that we have for 2019, we are going to build 4 more. This allows the youths that left school, those that left school, they didn't go very far, but they have the energy, they have the sight, they have the commitment to improve their artisan. We have given that opportunity.
My question was very specific and focused on the trickle-down effects, from not the general impact.
No,
the general impact could be there. Children trained, pupil-teacher ratio reduced. But where is the money that is supposed to go to the contractor?
This is the trickle-down I'm explaining. That is education. For instance, today, we have the highest number of students that have been given government loans. In the history of this country, we have the highest number of students benefiting from government loans.
Those are not contractors. I'm talking about contractors. You've got a road
because this is
costing
the money.
$1.2 million.
Yes.
30% of that should be a lot of money.
Yes, 20%
dropped in
of
a
that.
district.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying, that when you look at the impact, you have to itemize them. So I'm trying to itemize the impact. And this impact, when you have this money, it's not like, for instance, we will come to Sunday interview and say, there's a 20 pin itagabana so. Let me talk about the impact. Today, because of these developmental programs that are going on, we have the highest number of students benefiting from government loans to go to the University of Zambia and Copperbelt University. Today, because of the partnership that is going on between government and the private sector, we have 639,000 people that have benefited from the social cash transfer. Today, because of these businesses that we have partnered up between the government of the Republic of Zambia, the private sector, and the foreign investors, we have got 716,000 farmers that benefited from the Farmer Input Support Program. And for this farming season, we are targeting 1 million plus farmers to benefit from the Farmer Input Support Program. Today, because of the policies that we've put in place as Patriotic Front, we have built or upgraded 271 schools, from basic schools to secondary schools, in the last 7 years. And we have built universities, and we are going to continue to build universities in each and every province. Today, as we are speaking, we have 39 district hospitals, of which 5 are fully operational. And we have built 650 health posts, and 271 are operational, because in our manifesto we said for every 5-kilometer stretch we want to have a health post.
You need
this
to
is
admit,
the trickle-down effect.
There's that trickle-down effect.
In terms of the jobs, in terms of the
matter which you need to accept is that you have not done well in ring-fencing the money that is paid out to contractors.
No, Mr. Zulu,
the money being spent on projects is too huge.
And whose money is that? That is the first question we need to answer. This is not money which is coming from the pockets of the Zambians. There is money which is coming from the pockets of the investors. For instance, let's pick the dual carriageway.
The loans.
Let's pick the dual carriageway.
Let's pick the loan.
You will go to the loans. Let's pick the dual carriageway. The dual carriageway will cost us about 1.2 billion. That is an estimate. It's not an absolute figure. It's an estimate. It can go up, it can go down, depending on the facilities that will come with the dual carriageway, depending on the cost of the materials, depending on the exchange rate, depending on a lot of macro and microeconomic factors. But here is the fact. The company that has agreed to build the dual carriageway has put $400 million of their money, their own money, on the table.
That's a PPP.
That is their money. There's a private partnership.
That's what you're
and
talking about. But let's look at
they have put $400
huge
million
loans that government has
money.
borrowed to build infrastructure. 30% of that is supposed to remain in Zambia.
Yes, and it has remained in Zambia. This is why the reason
so
why.
So why is the private sector not growing?
The private sector is growing. And this is the reason why the private sector today is competitive. And the private sector can get 20% of businesses. That is just the minimum. The private sector 10 years ago would not even have 5% of the business. The Patriotic Front must be commended that we have put a threshold, because we need to start somewhere. And we also have to agree that when we talk about the private sector, we must look at capacity. Do they have the capacity to provide $400 million cash? They do not have. Do they have the capacity to provide the machinery, the equipment, and the technological advancement that these companies that are coming from abroad have? The answer is no. So we need to look at the technological capacity. Do they have the capacity in terms of manpower, in terms of technology, in terms of capital injection? The answer is they don't have. What has government done? The government has said we are going to make specific decisions to help the local businessmen to improve their capacity and to compete favorably. One of those things is to give them 20% of all government and all private sector contracts to the local investors. Because once we give them business, we also allow them to go up in terms of their capacity and their experience. We have also waived certain taxes. For instance, on solar panel, on solar batteries, the government has zero-rated all those to make sure that we allow our people to import these products at a cheaper rate. We have also introduced certain taxes, which we will, for instance, excise duty, 30 ngwe per every liter, for all these beverages, non-alcoholic, that are coming from abroad, to allow the local investors to thrive. So we must agree and accept the fact that we cannot compete in terms of capacity, whether be it financial, be it technological, be it human capital, with the foreign investors. But what government has done is not to leave the Zambian companies behind. This is the reason why we have said 20% of all the contracts are going to the Zambian people. And this is the reason why today you are seeing that all this infrastructure development which is taking place, and all the infrastructure development going on. We can go to Kalingalinga right now at Friday's Corner. The roads are being expanded. There are Zambian contractors who are there on site. You can go to Kwajak, where His Excellency the President, for instance, was commissioning the smart water project, which is giving water to 25,000 households. You are going to find that we have the local contractors taking part. You can go to Kafue, where there's the Kafue bulk project, which will be pumping 260 million liters of water in Lusaka, and to make sure that there will be no problems with water in Lusaka anymore once that project is done. You are going to find local contractors on site, local supplies on site.
Government
You can go to
government still owes local contractors huge sums of money. Even when you say you've released 2 billion, it's a drop in the ocean.
the minister.
And they've been owed for a long, long, long time.
The Minister of Finance has been very clear. Some of these areas are from way back. But this is what this Patriotic Front
That's the
government
Zambian
has done.
contractor you expect to build capacity.
This is what the Zambian government has done. First of all, they have put up a mechanism to make sure that there is a periodic, regular release of monies to the private sector that we are owning. We are clearing their debts. This is very important. We are clearing the arrears that we have accrued with the private sector, with the local contractors. We are clearing those. That's why 4 months ago, 2 billion kwacha was released. And this will continue.
4 months ago, and
yes,
what else has been released after that?
This will continue. The Minister of Finance will update us because she has periodical...
So if you're a Zambian contractor, you have to wait a minimum of 4 months to get your payment.
No, I'm just giving you an example
That doesn't look very
of what...
fair.
No, I'm just giving you an example of what has been communicated already. There are companies that have been owed in the past. Before even the Patriotic Front came into office, they found arrears.
And you expect them
we
to
found
survive.
36
we
billion.
expect private
We
sector to
found
grow and
36
survive.
billion. We found 36 billion kwacha arrears before we even took over. And we are dismantling the arrears that we found. But what is most important is that unlike the previous governments that was leaving it free, what was leaving it free for all, what the Patriotic Front government has done is that we have put on the table a law that 20% of all contracts must be subcontracted.
I will not push you too
to
much in the
Zambian
corner
people.
on that because I know it sits under other ministries and government ministries.
And the ministry
I
will
want
be
to
able
take you
to
back to Ndola
give us more.
and Kitwe. Patriotic Front, probably, is trying to, looks like it's spoiling to get Mr. Ichinema arrested. You've done your investigations, you've concluded, and you're now asking police to arrest him.
First of all,
Inciting the police, if we could say, to get him arrested.
first of all,
You are so convinced he caused the riot.
First of all, I want to make it very clear that Patriotic Front is not interested in Mr. Ichinema. We are not interested in Mr. Ichinema because Mr. Ichinema is an ordinary citizen running a club called UPND. That is a club that is registered under Registrar of Societies. It's just a club. He's an ordinary citizen who is not special in any way. And as a political party, we are not interested.
He's a leader of,
We-
of a
yes,
biggest,
of
biggest
a
opposition party.
biggest
So
club
he's not an
called the
ordinary
opposition
person.
political party. So he's an ordinary person.
He's not ordinary.
No, he's an ordinary person.
He's leading
Grevazio.
40.
Grevazio. Do you know the one who was given the World Cup, the last World Cup? It was France. And nobody talks about Croatia because nobody talks about the one who comes second. So let's just put Mr. Ichinema where he belongs. He's a leader of the opposition political party, which is a club registered under the Society Registrar of Societies.
He represents thousands
Okay.
of people that did not vote for PF.
Of course, and we don't have a problem with that. But what is very important is that Mr. Ichinema is an ordinary Zambian, just like any other Zambian. He does not enjoy any immunity. He does not enjoy any special status. And he is not above the law. So if Mr. Ichinema is going to commit a crime, the law will be exercised on him just like it's exercised on everybody, including ZS, my friend at Shappies in Kalingalinga. So he is not special. He's just an ordinary Zambian like any other Zambian. We as Patriotic Front, we do not have any special interest in Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. But what we are saying is that we were voted by the people of Zambia. The people of Zambia voted for the Patriotic Front. They have given us the constitutional mandate to run the affairs of this country. And it is in our interest as Patriotic Front, a ruling party, to make sure that there is sanity in this country, to make sure that there is peace in this country, to make sure that there is the rule of law in this country, to make sure that everybody lives and abides by the laws of this country. It is our mandate, and the people of this country expect us to provide that leadership. This is the reason why President Edgar Lungu has established or created the Ministry of Religious Affairs and National Guidance to remind all of us as Zambians of Ubuntu, to remind us of the values and the principles that run us as Zambians. This is the reason why the president every year gives a speech to this country in parliament to speak to the people that elected him, to remind all of us of our responsibilities and our duties. You have a right to speak, but you do not have the right to lie. You have a right to speak, but you do not have a right to incite people to be violent. The infrastructure that is being damaged If you look at the roads that are being damaged, the public property that is being damaged, that belongs to the people of Zambia. And the peace that we've enjoyed in the last 54 years should not be taken for granted.
Are you willing to wait for the police to do an investigation and conclude the matter?
Of course. The
Before you can, you're strong. You're the ruling party, like you say. You put in power. And the moment you start inciting the police to arrest somebody, they're going to do it.
The Patriotic Front
it takes away the objectivity
the Patriotic Front,
law enforcement officer.
The Patriotic Front, as a government that believes in the separation of powers, as a government that believes in the independency of government institutions, we do not interfere with the operations of the police. The police are governed under the Zambia Police Act, and that act provides for them how they must administer and manage the affairs of the state with regards to the mandate that has been given to them. And the Patriotic Front does not interfere in the operations of any state department or any state institution. These institutions are independent, they are autonomous, and they are carrying out their duties as enshrined in the Constitution, as enshrined in the acts that establishes them.
Let's leave Ndola and come back to Lusaka, I suppose. Let's look at pro-poor policies. This is another issue of the party that has been under intense scrutiny. I want to ask you, if you stood at a rally today, would you still use the slogan, more money in your pocket?
Of course.
You would?
And this is the reason. Before the Patriotic Front came into office...
You would still tell the people that?
And I'll explain. Before the Patriotic Front came into office, we had no minimum wage. People were being paid whatever the person who has hired them to work want to give them. You could be made, you could be given 300 kwacha, 200 kwacha. If you don't want, leave it. When the Patriotic Front came into office, we put a minimum wage. We said
you increased
there will
it
be... it was not operational. We operationalized the minimum wage, and we have increased it twice. Remember when the Patriotic Front came into office, President Michael Sata, may so rest in peace, he increased the salaries of the civil servants, others to a tune of 300%.
Against advice of economists.
Look, the government cannot live and lead by theories. The government must lead by practice. Experts. The government will listen to experts, and the government has experts. And government ministers, many of them are very educated people.
So now you have a situation now where salaries and emoluments are over 50% of the national budget. And you're okay with that?
You have asked me a question, so I want to elaborate. More money in people's pocket, and that is very important. We operationalize the minimum wage, and we have increased the minimum wage as Patriotic Front for the benefit of a maid who has no bargaining strategy, for the benefit of a garden boy, a shopkeeper, kamalonda, daka boy. All these people have no unions to speak for them. President Edgar Lungu has appointed himself as a union president for all the maids in this country. He has appointed himself as a union president for all the daka boys, all the laborers in this country. This is the reason why he has put his foot down, and the president directed the Ministry of Labor to adjust the minimum wage upwards. When we adjust the minimum wage upwards, that is more money in people's pockets. Number two, the Patriotic Front has increased the non-taxable threshold. Anybody who gets 3,300 kwacha per month and below does not pay a single tax, not even in Zude, not even in coin.
But
you don't pay a single tax when you are getting 3,300 kwacha and below. The Patriotic Front, in ensuring that we continue with our policies of pro-poor, we have increased the beneficiaries of the social cash transfer. The people that are benefiting from the social cash transfer has increased, and now we have a record 638,000 people have benefited from the social cash transfer. Ndalama zaulele zametipasa abantu as a government.
That's not a sustainable solution, and you would not want a large number of people relying on social cash transfer.
Believe you me.
But and you know for
these are interventions that are necessary.
And you know that you cannot share poverty. You've said that.
That's why. That's the reason why.
So you want to grab the money from the people doing well and give it to the poor.
No, this is the reason why we are giving people a lift. Those orphaned children, those aged people have nowhere to go. The disabled have nowhere to go. And the government must be compassionate. A government has a duty to protect the weak. And this is what Patriotic Front is doing. We are protecting the weak by ensuring that we protect their conditions of service, by ensuring that we increase their minimum wage, by ensuring that those that are at the lowest echelon of poverty are given the social cash transfer. In the 2015-2016 farming season, only 248,000 farmers had access to farmer input support by the government. In the 2017-2018 farming season, this number has increased to 716,000 farmers benefiting from farmer input support program. And we have not just left it at that. We have even broadened the choice. You can now pick not just maize, but you can pick fingerlings. You can start fish farming. You can start poultry. You can do other cash crops within the farmer input support program. If you look at the beneficiaries of the government loans under the Patriotic Front, this number has increased tremendously. Just last year, the University of Zambia had over 4,300 students who benefited directly from government loans. This year, this number is going to go up.
And you suddenly started deducting. Now, are you listening to the people when they complain about too many user fees, being overtaxed, in an environment where money is scarce?
I've heard the story of taxes, and I can look into this camera and say that there is no single new tax which the Patriotic Front government has introduced.
User fees?
We must understand that for every government to operate, it needs money. And this is the reason why every government in the world taxes its people. By the way, tax started before Jesus was even born 2,000 years ago. And that's the reason why when Jesus came...
You are taxing few people to subsidize the entire nation.
When Jesus came, we said, Dipasani Kaisara za Kaisara. This is what we have done. We inherited an economy. Remember, we're not coming from nowhere. Zambia got independence 54 years ago. And of the 54 years ago, the Patriotic Front has only been in power for 7 years.
Which is a lot.
There was 27 years of UNIP, and there was 20 years of MMD. And in these 7 years...
And you also need 20 years?
No, we have done it tremendously well. In the last 7 years, we have built more hospitals, built more schools, built more universities, employed more people. By the way, just in the last 2 years, we've employed 15,239 health personnel. In 2 years, 15,239 health personnel. And we've got 215 medical doctors that are doing specialized treatment, specialized training. Within the last 7 years that we've been in power, when we came into office, the Patriotic Front, we had less than 1 million people in the formal sector, less than 1 million people in the informal sector, less than 900,000 people in the domestic sector. Today, when you look at the labor surveys that have been done by the Central Statistics Office, in conjunction with the Ministry of Labor, you find that we've got 1.1 million people who are on permanent jobs in the formal sector, and 1.1 million people in the informal sector on permanent jobs, and over 900,000 people who are working in the domestic area. These are figures that can be verified with the Central Statistics Office. These are jobs we told the people. Every year, this government has been employing, on average, 3,000 teachers. This government, on average, has been employing 1,000 police officers. This government, in the last 7 years, has built 2,400 households just in one ministry, the Ministry of Home Affairs, for our officers, those who work at immigration, those who work as police officers, those who work in the intelligence service. These are unprecedented developments that we have made in a record period of 7 years.
I want you to do an analysis. How is your popularity and how are your confidence levels being affected by austerity measures? Is it possible for you to be pro-poor and invest more in the people when you're implementing austerity measures? This basically is tightening your belt. Everybody's doing that.
Austerity measures are necessary because we want to reduce the accumulation of debt. Austerity measures are necessary because we want to increase the liquidity in the market. Austerity measures are necessary because we want to maintain the inflation at a single digit. And these are necessary decisions that we must make as a people. And these are necessary sacrifices that we must make as a people. Remember, we inherited an economy 7 years ago.
Is that affecting your ability to meet people's needs?
It is not. And this can be seen in the confidence and the trust that the people have continued to show in the Patriotic Front.
Realistically, it should, isn't it?
Yes. No, this is what is happening. You judge the popularity of the political party by its ability to win elections.
Well, putting politics aside and winning elections aside.
You asked me a question.
I asked you
whether we are still popular.
Austerity measures versus your ability to deliver.
Yeah, so you've asked me two questions. First of all is, are you popular as a political party, as Patriotic Front? And I said the ability, the popularity of the political party is judged by its ability to win elections. We have had a number of by-elections. First, we had 14 by-elections. We won 12 of them.
Where you've invested
We
all
had
your machinery,
16
isn't it?
by-elections. We won 14. We had the last 13 by-elections. We won 12. So it is very clear that the people of Zambia have the confidence and the trust in the Patriotic Front.
Are you,
Are
you meeting their expectations?
Yes, you've talked about austerity measures. This country was losing $20 million every month on electricity subsidies. We have restructured the subsidies laws, and we are able to save the money. This is the money which we are using today to have a treatment center here in Kaunda Square, treating water. This is the investment we have put aside to have the 4,000 students that we've been giving loans at the University of Zambia. This is the money that we have reserved to have the university teaching hospital doing complicated medical operations. Today we are able to do separation of Siamese twins. We are able to do the kidney transplants. Why? It's because we have invested in training. We have invested in the equipment in the hospitals. We have the Lusaka multi-facility zone. There are 29,000 jobs.
I want to put it to you that when you speak about health, I want to take you back a bit. When you speak about health, facilities could be there. You're investing yet, yes, but they are well above the poor man's reach. I know that even to do a CT scan, you really have to pay huge sums.
No, I was at UTH last week. My wife has not been feeling too well. I paid 20 kwacha to book for a scan. 20 kwacha.
And how much did you pay?
I paid 20 kwacha. 20 kwacha for a scan. 20 kwacha. Okay, go to UTH, it's 20 kwacha for a scan. Now, there are two things which I don't want to lose my mind on. We have the multi-facility zone. Let's speak, for instance, Lusaka multi-facility zone. That project alone will create 23,000 jobs. 9,000 jobs have already been created. We are talking about permanent jobs, and these are pensionable jobs. And we have a project where government, working together with the private sector, they have put in $100 million US to start manufacturing tractors here in Lusaka. We'll be manufacturing tractors here in Lusaka. So
your speech looks very colorful, but is that what is on the ground?
It is the reality. These things, I'm not taking them from my head or from
Teddy's
bar where I work as a DJ. These things are what is happening on the ground. So we have a project to be manufacturing tractors in this country. 100 million kwacha has been put aside. It is at the Lusaka multi-facility zone. This government has put in an extra 6,000 hectareage for irrigation to diversify the agriculture sector. This government today, as we are speaking, just very recently, the president, His Excellency President Edgar Lungu, was commissioning one of the big cement-making infrastructure in Chongwe. We only had one cement company. Today we have about 6 cement companies. Why? It's because
we have running out of time. I want to ask you one key question that of course is affecting the party, probably the nation as well. PF is failing to deal with the perception, or maybe it's reality, of grand corruption and theft of public resources. That's a very transfer, leakage at the Ministry of Education in terms of money as well as examinations. Auditor General's report still sticks out as a thorn in the flesh. We're also looking at Lusaka Province Administration, huge leakage of money.
Let's look at the issue of corruption holistically. Corruption is both a legal and a social issue because it takes two for corruption to take place. So first of all, we need to do with our mindset. This is the reason when the president was addressing the nation, he did touch on the issue of corruption with regards to mindset. It is us who pay bribes to the police officers when they find us with a case to answer on the road. It is us who pay bribes at Ratsa when we want to get a driver's license. So we need to change our mindset and stop paying bribes. That's the beginning.
People need a service.
That's the beginning.
If the service is not being delivered, they'll do whatever they can.
The beginning is that we must stop paying bribes. That's the beginning. Now, secondly, this government has been very decisive on the issue of corruption. And you do not fight corruption through rhetoric. You fight corruption by putting in place necessary legislative framework to mandate and to empower the institutions that deal with corruption. A lot of revisions of our laws have taken place to give more mandate, more autonomy, and more liquidity to the Anti-Corruption Commission, to the Drug Enforcement Commission, including to the Financial Intelligence Center. The Patriotic Front has worked to revise the Financial Intelligence Center Act to make it more practical for FIC to go about and do their work. This government, for the first time in the history of this country, has put Article 225 in the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia to give express authority to the Auditor General's office to take any issue of corruption or suspected misuse of public resources directly to the law enforcement agency. All along, before Patriotic Front came into office, the Auditor General would do their work. They'll produce their report. Their report would gather dust. Today, this president, President Edgar Lungu, has assented to a new constitution that has given the Auditor General the authority to take anyone direct to the police and not to wait for anybody.
Let me ask you one last question.
That is number two.
On
the issue of the corruption,
yes, on the issue of corruption,
ask me the
do you
one.
think, I've heard you speak about the president so many times.
Yes, because he's in charge.
And his commitment and probably commitment of government. Do you think the president is being let down by the institutions that are supposed to be fighting corruption?
In answering your question, the president has made a public announcement.
Is he being let down?
The president,
because people are not seeing the actions being
the president.
The laws are there, but nothing is happening. Really.
There's a lot
not
that is
much.
happening. There's a lot that is happening. The president has made a public declaration that he's not satisfied with the works of certain law enforcement agencies, and he has asked them to pull their socks. But this is what the president and his cabinet have done. We have put in place the public finance management law. This is to make sure that there's accountability and transparency in the management of public resources. And already this law has started yielding results. We have seen 13 accounting officers being expelled, fired, or suspended. We have seen people, as we are speaking right now, in the Ministry of Education, 19 people in various departments have been arrested, they have been suspended, they have put on forced leave. The president has cracked a whip. The public financial management law is working miracles. The laws that we have put in our constitution to give leverage to the Auditor General's office and Corruption Commission, Drug Enforcement Commission, and Financial Intelligence Center are making headways. So in a nutshell, this is what I want to say in conclusion on the matter of corruption. One, this Patriotic Front government is not using rhetoric. We have put in place legislation to make sure that we decisively fight with corruption. The president has cracked a whip, and people are being suspended, people are being arrested. On the issue of the social cash transfer, I want to put it very categorical. There is no donor money that was misused. The 2.7 million pounds has been returned.
You are concerned with donor money, you're not concerned with the public money in
It was not misused. I just wanted to make the record straight. It was not misused. The 4.3 million kwacha, which is government money, which is alleged to have been misused, the president, 4 months ago, before anybody heard about this, the president had already instituted an inquiry to make sure that we get to the bottom of exactly what happened. So the president does not operate through the media. He does not operate through social media. The president follows protocols, and there are a lot of things that the president is doing and a lot of things that government is doing that necessarily might not reach the eyes of the public through the media.
Mr. Mwanza.
But we are fighting corruption, and we have put in place all the necessary measures to make sure that people pay for the crimes. And credit must be given to His Excellency President Edgar Lungu and his government. Thank you so much, Mr.
Running out of time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching. You've been watching Sunday Interview. Our guest was PF Deputy Media Director, Mr. Antonio Mwanza. Till next week sometime, pleasant viewing.
We sing happy birthday to you.
The board, management and staff of the Zambia National Broadcasting Corporation would like to wish His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, a happy 62nd birthday. May God bless you with good health and divine wisdom as you continue to preside over the affairs of our beloved country. Happy birthday. ZNBC. Just for you.
Most of the Zambian musicians talk about having been raised from a ghetto environment such as the one that you are seeing in your picture right now. The question is, where am I? Here I am. Welcome to the Zambian Genius. Now, when you talk about growing up from the compound, this is in an environment that doesn't inspire anybody. That's according to perception. But fast forward 2018, 21st century, these are the environments that are inspiring people to get to greater heights. Hold high esteemed offices in government and parastatal companies, even in the private sector. This is the environment that nurtures and grows up such individuals. They do not forget the time that they grew up from such a compound and from such an environment. That's where we're coming from today. So we want to give you a concept of what goes on in a compound and how the children grow up in our compound, so much so that they are inspired to be greater people like some of you are over there. big family I have today here in Kalingalinga, and these are some of the things that some of those that have become so big in our country, they inevitably did pass through such a stage. And we just want to show you where the Zambian geniuses are born from the compound. Kelvin Kawela. Uli bwanji boy?
Ni bwino kaya ima.
Tishimikireko boy ni chanja mino machita pa.
Pano veni machita ni mapanga uchetu mamoto katamne utu. Nasunga kuchena wajakabu wai moja. Ngati tuno panga moto kani matenga chebe ya fana mnina fa naenda chena utasakia mawaya. Tasakia pa mawaya. Abani ondo ila ni pa ni panga.
Okay. Masobera amene bamachita maningi kuno bafana compound masobera manga bwanji.
Machita maningi ni bora. Bora na kusobera sache antono tumamotoka. Okay.
Vama TV simukondo tambe.
Vama TV yayi.
Simukondo. Okay. So as you can see, it's a nicely made wire car, and the smart thing that we want to associate with a genius. Look at the shaft. Look at that. Look. We used to call this leg gate. It's called the leg gate. That one, the elastic thing. And then there are two types of such arrangements, where there's the direct one and this one. When you make this one, they will respect you. Bama kupasa kwanja ukapanga sharp ya sote. Not ija ya direct ija. So nishindwe mkali mugeto. Okay, let me even give it a try. So this car is one of those luxury, like a Mercedes-Benz with just two people, a very selfish car. It doesn't have rear passengers. So there it goes. It can make a U-turn just here. I can't help it but remember those days. Nice one, see you.
Sabuma.
Tried and tested. Nice one. You're good to go. You could go anywhere you want. Kawambwa, Luapola, this car will reach you there. Now, this is not the only thing that the people do in the compounds, like our children, and this is why maybe their minds are so opened up. They are free-spirited. They can run around, jump around. Not only do they do this, there are other games that they used to do and that they still do today. And you probably was part of this particular one. We used to call it Killer. Easy, Frank. Take it easy. Now, like I said, one of the games we used to enjoy is Killer. And amazing enough, we still have children playing this one like we found here coincidentally. So, Frank Kazia is with me. We're going to play and take ourselves backwards to those days when I was a genius at Killer. Let me see if I can kill him.
Last.
I play first?
Last.
Okay, so when you hear him last, he's simply telling me that I should go first. Let me hit it. Okay. Yeah, I got one down. So, Chosako Ako. That's my thing. I'm hoping it doesn't get to hit any. Yeah. Okay. So what used to happen is that he's knocked out 5. I've got 1. Whoever hits out the many batteries is a winner.
So it's me again playing.
Oh, because you've hit.
Yes, I've
many
hit,
of them.
and then it's noisy near the batteries.
Okay. All right.
So we used to call Varamangwen.
Oh, because there's a gap.
Yes,
here.
there's a gap.
So
here.
you squeeze.
So ni Varamangwen.
Okay.
We used to call it Varamangwen.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So I'll use
Oh, where
copper.
your battery that hit the battery's ends, that's
yes,
where you...
Yes, they were.
Ah,
that's where I have
but
to
mine was
step.
where? Mine was-
There. Too far. I'm telling you, too far.
Okay.
So we used to call this kind of throwing a popper.
Oh, my boy. Ah, no. You can't.
See? Navaramangwen.
So who plays now?
It's you now.
Okay. I'm killing it. There are 4 batteries remaining. I have to be smart at this one. This guy can't finish me off. Yeah! I've hit one.
Okay. Tiendere.
Oh.
We'll go for it again
Okay.
with 3 batteries.
Balamangwe.
So it's 1. I'm first.
Go. You go. Nice.
I finished you off, you see?
Yes, you have.
We used to enjoy this game during our days when we were growing up. You see? There was nothing like games, these video games we are seeing nowadays. Us, we used to play batteries. From batteries, in the afternoons, we go to ground, that Kalkungu ground. We go and play Chimpombwa, you know, such kind of games
Yes.
we used to enjoy. There was also Sojo. We used to play Sojo very much.
I still remember it.
You still remember Sojo?
You get a bottle top.
Yes, a bottle
and then
top.
I can quickly do that. What?
Uh-huh.
Here. So let's give you a sojo. Sojo doesn't have to take too long. So what you do, you simply create some kind of
hole.
if you don't have a ground to write a hole, you simply draw.
You simply draw a circle.
Okay.
So there's starting point.
Yes, it's here. You go first.
I'll go first.
You go first. Then you draw the line. No. You draw the line. So
Okay.
we'll play from here.
Okay.
This is the sojo. We want
This
to
is the Sojo.
So you have to hit until you get in the hole.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Guys, failed. Okay, this guy is near, right? He has to.
So it's me.
No. Okay, now I'm gonna kill you. Yeah, but no.
Line.
So,
No.
no, outside. Okay, I'm also outside.
You're also outside.
Almost there.
No.
you hit it
There's there's a what?
A what?
A ham.
But that's not my problem. That's not my, it's your problem. So once you're inside,
Then
now
you've won.
it's your time to
You've won.
celebrate. I've killed him. Good game. So let's take you to yet another game. Not only this, I tell you what, the compound is very adventurous. What's that one, Lam?
This is a sojo. You know sojo.
Okay. So we've taken quite a long walk from where we were playing the killer game from.
Yes.
Now we switched to